This episode is brought to you by Sugar Vida. Is it possible to make cornbread even more delicious? Yes, yes it is. Fruity, nutty, deliciously sweet. It's got a really nice texture to it. It's not too dense and claggy. It has got a lightness to it, but also quite toothsome. Sugar Vida sent me some of their Palmyra Blossom Nectar, and this is a deliciously sweet product, but it's got a very low glycemic index. To give a bit of context for that, table sugar is about 65 on the GI index, and this is 35. Now this is a delicious and nutritious natural sweetener. This can be used as a sugar substitute, but it is also packed full of B vitamins and iron. So there's lots of really good things in there, especially if you are vegan or plant-based or just vegetarian or meat eater and just want a little bit of extra B12 in your diet. This also has B1, B2, B6 as well as the B12 and the iron. And this can help with things like brain function, immunity, hormone levels, skin and energy levels. So it's a really nice product there. I've been using it in my morning tea, just give me a little bit of extra pep. And the flavour's delicious. It's a little bit like brown sugar, but perhaps with a slightly floral note to it. Nothing in your face, not too intense, it's very subtle, but really, really tasty. They sent me this a little while ago and I've been kind of racking my brains of things to do with it because I didn't just want to use it as a sugar substitute, I wanted to showcase the flavour of it. And I was chatting with someone in the comments on a post on Instagram, and the idea just suddenly popped in my head of making a kind of sauce syrup type of thing with this, and then I kind of then reverse engineered the recipe. So what we're going to do is make a summer fruit upside down cornbread, and I think that's going to be incredible. So my little fruit bowl here, I've got 9 plums and then I've got 4 nectarines. What I wanted to do was a peach one, but then they didn't have peaches in the shop, so this is what we're doing. If you're wondering what's in the pan, I'm making some vegetable stock. Never done it before from scratch, so I thought, why not? I'm going to do this in my cast iron skillet and then do it all and invert it. So I'm just going to rub oil on the sides there just to help it, prevent sticking. The plan is to do a kind of nice little design with the fruit. We'll see how it goes. So I'm just going to cut it into quarters, I think. So I'm just going to cut it in half, twist it, and cut that into quarters. And then that side's still got the stone in it, so I'm going to try and twist that out. One side is slightly pointier, so I'm trying to get those into the middle, just to make it a bit more delicate. Same with the nectarines. In total, I used, I think, 2 plums and 2 nectarines. I'd always buy more than you need though, because you don't want to get caught out like I did. Onto the cornbread itself for the dry ingredients. I need 1.25 cups of plain flour. You can see. Doing 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of baking powder, and then 1 cup of polenta. I will put all of the grams in for you when I do the edit. If you can get cornmeal, use that. I don't have it, which is why I'm using polenta. I'm going to grind it. Then I'm adding 1/4 cup of the blossom, which is about 85 grams thereabouts. This is 55 grams of macadamia nuts that I toasted in the air fryer. I did 150 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes and then just chop them up. Push that to the side. I'm going to make the kind of sauce. I've got 400 gram tin of coconut milk, and I'm going to do the thick creamy part, use that to make like a whipping cream, and then the liquid part I'm going to use to make the sauce. So we need to scoop out the thick stuff. This has been in the fridge overnight because cold makes it separate. So I'm going to scoop that into a bowl. So I've just got the liquid there now. Pour this into the saucepan. So I'll do 2 tablespoons of soy milk and then 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. I don't know if I'll use all of that, but I'm going to mix it, and then if I don't need it, I don't need it. just mix that together. The reason for mixing the starch into a liquid is if you try and put that in dry into the sauce, it's just going to form clumps because heat starts activating the starch. So this is a little workaround. Then I'm adding a tablespoon of the nectar into that. I'll do one and then see what the flavour's like. And then start thickening it up with the cornstarch slurry. Do a little bit at a time. Give me 1 tablespoon to start with. Give it a good stir. I just pulled it off the heat so you could kind of see. That's where we're at. I'm going to put in another ½ tablespoon. So I'm going to pour the sauce, the syrupy stuff, all over the fruit. And shake the pan, get it a little bit even in there. Just going to mix the dry ingredients together using the dough hook. So this is a Danish dough hook. This is 1/3 cup of butter, melted vegan butter, and then 1 1/4 cups of soy milk. And mix that together. This makes it really fast actually. And then I'm going to spoon it over the top. These are raw macadamias. I don't want to put toasted ones on in case they burned. I think this is going to give a nice little surprise crunch at the bottom. Putting it in the oven that's been preheating at 180 and it'll be in for about 20 minutes. Cornbread's had 20 minutes, let's have a little look. That looks incredible. Check, see if it comes out. I'm going to give it a bit longer because it's still gooey at the bottom, and I guess that's the moisture coming from the syrup, sauce stuff. And put some foil over it. And I'll put it in for another 10 minutes. Cornbread's had another 10, give it a check. There we go. So ½ an hour in total, 10 minutes covered. So I need to invert this. Obviously everything's hot, so just be careful. But I want to get it out of the pan, I think, while it's still warm, so then the sauce can kind of gloop over the sides. Put it roughly where you want it, and then just flip. And now for the moment of truth. Let's see if I can get it back out. Oh, I should have loosened it. Need to do a little patching, but that's okay. I'm going to let this cool down a bit. Probably have it for dessert later this evening. I'll see you back here for the eating. It's almost time to eat. I just need to make the whipped cream. Here's the coconut cream that I scooped out of the can. And you can see very solid. I'm going to whip this up and slowly add spoonfuls of icing sugar into it. And it'll hopefully become a really pillowy and fluffy and delicious little scoop to go on the top. First spoon. I've just had a quick Google to see if what's happening. And it says it can take anywhere from 1 to 25 minutes. So I'm going to give it another few minutes and see if it starts looking like it might happen. I think what's happened is that when I put the sugar in, that started pulling the moisture, the extra water that was still in there. I'm gonna have to call it a day with the whipping because it's really hurting my hands holding it like that. If you want to try it, I would whip it until you get it to this consistency, just on its own, and then start adding the sugar and blot it with paper towel as you're whipping it the first time, you know, before the sugar goes in. But I'm just gonna have to have that as a little kind of clotted cream sort of thing. So here it is in all its glory, looking delicious. So I'm going to cut a slice of that. So that, to me, just looks absolutely delicious. The failed whipped cream on there as well. Oh, that's a belter. That blossom nectar works perfectly because it's not sugary or sickly. It just gives a really delicious sweetness. And then it also has, I can't quite describe the flavour to you. It's slightly floral, but not. That's not helpful, I know. but it's a little bit brown sugar, but then there's something else. The cornbread itself is lovely and moist, and there's a density to it as well. And the fruit on there. And I don't see why this wouldn't work for any kind of fruit really. So you could maybe put some cinnamon in there and then put apples on the top. That would be great. We're gonna sit down with a cup of tea and just chomp all of this down. Maybe come back for another big wedge of it, because that's delightful. The plums especially, just worked fantastically in there. If you wanted to take it into kind of a winter fruits, you could put some cloves, maybe a bit of allspice, that kind of thing in with the syrup, the sauce. And it would be a really lovely wintry spice type of thing. The addition of the nuts in there, oh, that was a great idea. Because otherwise it's quite a solid piece of just one texture. But with this, you've got the fruit on top, which is beautifully soft. And there's a little bit of sauce still, so that kind of melts with the cornbread and makes it a softer texture. And then crunch from the nuts every now and then. It's just great. For more delicious baked vegan goods, hit subscribe and tap the bell icon. There's plenty more to watch.